What's up, guys? How are you? Welcome into another Thursday night live stream. My name is Matt Perrault. I'm the host of the Daily Juice podcast with you every Thursday night right here on the BettingPros YouTube channel. Thank you for coming in a little bit early. I got to get out of here at about 45 past. I've got an event at my kid's school that I got to jump out to go to. So I'm going to be with you here for about 20, 25 minutes breaking down this big game between the Packers and the Lions. It's amazing that we're already at week number 14 between these two teams. This is going to be a barn burner of a football game. I've got this art tonight for about 45 minutes at my kid's school. I'm going to be back at about 5:25 or so. So I'll miss the first couple of minutes, maybe the first drive or two, but cannot wait to get back to see this big NFC North clash between these two teams and these two big rivals. The news of the day so far, it's only a half a point, but it is significant to me and a bunch of people. The money has come in enough to take this number from 3.5 to 3. The Lions are now favored by 3. The total has gone up to 53 or 52.5, depending upon the book that you are looking at currently for this matchup. We talked about this last night on the Daily Juice, but in case you guys didn't listen to it or watch it, the first half, the Lions are 12-2-1 over their last 15 games against teams from the NFC North in the first half. The Lions are also the number one scoring offense in the second quarter so far this season. They normally put it on teams in the second quarter. That's why I've taken the Lions in the first half. However, Matt LaFleur in the month of December is 18-2 straight up as a head coach. He's also 4-0 in the month of December against the number as a dog, 4-0. I've taken the 3.5 here for the Packers. So I'm trying a little bit of a skill shot here with going with Lions first half, Packers for the game, trying to play out how this generally goes here with this. I mean, it's not going to be easy to do that. It's not going to be a fun sweat, but my gut tells me Lions by 3 at half and Lions by 3 at the end of the game. I do think the Packers will have a chance to win this game, but they've had some luck here. I mean, their win over the Bears was pretty lucky. Had a block kick at the end of the game. They didn't cover, but they won the game. I don't think they go into Detroit and they win. Both these teams played on Thanksgiving. There is no rest advantage here for either team on a Thursday night. We're dealing with no weather as well. This is indoors, okay? So those are the two bets I gave you guys on the Daily Juice. I've been toying and I've been battling with myself for most of the day about what to do with the same game teaser and whether or not I'm going to do a same game teaser. And this move to the over kind of swayed me. And I decided to say, all right, I'm going to wind up going and I'm going to do it. At 1.2 units, it's a little bit more committed than I normally get when it comes to a game, but I'm only going to do 2 props here. I'm not going to do my normal 4. So I'm only committing about a half a unit or so more than what I normally would commit to a game like this. So, and it's week 14. We're running out of games. It's the NFL. I mean, it's really hard to bet late. The numbers are sharp, but I think we have some really good trends that if we hit the majority of them, I don't think we'll hit all of them, but if we hit the majority of them, it should be a profitable night for us. So it's first half Lions laying 1.5. That number is as high as 2.5 at certain books. I know the Westgate here in Vegas was up to 2.5 in the first half for the Lions. I got 1.5 there. And then the game 3.5, those numbers are now gone. It's now +3 on that. I'm going to take the Lions in the total. I'm going to take the Packers side here and go to 9 and tease it up to +9 and then pull the total down from 52.5 down to 46.5 and take over. I do think this is going to be a higher scoring game. I do think that we're going to see offense here. And I think there are some numbers, there's some things to look at. There's some trends to point out, just given the way the Lions have scored, just given the way their offense has played. I think we can come in here, and I'm going to take Jameson Williams over 50.5 receiving yards tonight. I do think Jared Goff's going to have to throw the football. I do think Jared Goff's going to be trailing at some point in this game, and I think he's going to wind up having to throw the ball down the field, and Williamson's been such a huge weapon for this offense. Williams, sorry. And look, he's had problems. He's had issues. I think he could be a guy that gets in the end zone tonight. I don't mind that. So to me, I was looking at FanDuel earlier today, and I was looking at just the prop market here in this game, and it feels like everybody wants to bet on the props. Like everybody is interested. But Jameson Williams is over 50.5 from receiving yards perspective. I'm on St. Brown's at 70.5. That's a little bit on the higher side that I want. Jaden Reed from the Packers is at 62.5. This is at FanDuel. Sam Laporta is at 39.5. So the books are a little bit all over the place as to how this game's going to go from a passing. I think both running backs could be involved in the screen game tonight for the Lions. Montgomery's yardage is 17.5. I almost took that over. And then Jahmyr Gibbs at 20.5. I almost took that over, but I just settled with Jameson Williams to go over 50.5 because of the big play threat and because of how often they do look to throw deep to him, that he can get that in one play. I mean, realistically, it could be one play. And we've seen the Packers defense give up big plays. I don't trust this Packers defense to keep the Lions down. I think the Packers are going to have to score, and the Packers are going to have to move the football, and most likely through the air. So I came really close to taking the over on Jordan Love's yardage. Both quarterbacks at FanDuel are at 253.5. Now that's high for both quarterbacks to be there. Kind of an indication of what the books think this game's going to look like. The betting public tends to agree as to what it's going to look like. And so I do think this is going to be a decent night for touchdown props. I see you guys in the chat. You guys are talking about Jahmyr Gibbs, anytime touchdown. Yep. Jameson Williams, anytime touchdown. Yep. David Montgomery has been a touchdown machine. So, I mean, I have only one fan. I don't play fantasy, but I have one team, and I've got David Montgomery. And I understand how much David Montgomery's been scoring. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's like every single week, he's jumping into the end zone and scoring for the Lions. I don't mind that. Josh Jacobs to score here. I don't mind that. So, yeah, there's a question in the chat I'll get to here in a second. Montgomery over 17.5 yards receiving. Yeah, Jacob Moore. I think you're right. I mean, I don't mind that at all to go with that. Jordan Love over 220 yards passing. Don't mind that at all. Like, you have to play the game out, okay? So there's got to be correlation. So if we think the over is in play, obviously we're talking about offense. If we think that the dog is going to be live, or the dog's not the lead, that the Lions are going to throw the football and maybe be trailing, right? So that's why I like Williams. But that takes me to the only other prop that I have made, and I'm going to bet tonight. I like the Packers to win the game, and I don't mind a sprinkle, and I'll have some sprinkles on the money line here for the Packers to win the game. With how banged up this Lions defense is, I think there's a chance here that you get a Packers win. So I'm going Jared Goff interception, yes, at plus 110. That he throws a pick here tonight. So I'm only going to go with a half a unit or so here on 2-player props, and then go full unit plays here with the Lions in the first half at minus 1.5. That number is probably going to be 2, which I'm okay with as long as it's under. Really, I want it at 2. Don't go over 2. But if it's at 2 or less, Lions in the first half at minus 120. That's where I played it last night. Green Bay at plus 3.5 for the game at minus 110 for 1.1 units. The Packers over teaser. Packers plus 9 because that number now is 3. I'm going to pull it up to 9 and go over 46.5 because it looks like this is going to be a high-scoring game between these teams with full rest. This looks like, I don't think it's going to be like the last time we saw a primetime game on Monday night where we just saw 70 some odd points between the Broncos and the Browns. I don't think we see that, but I do think there's a decent shot that we're going to see a lot of offense here with these teams and just with the offenses that are there. 3-3 Detroit at home to the over. Green Bay 3-2 to the over on the road so far. Against the division, they're both 1-2 or 2-1 to the under against the division, but against the conference, 3-1 for the Packers. Packers on the road have been somewhat of an under team, but that I think is more or less about as to who they have played. Miami, they won the game 30-17 at home in their last game. They went to the Bears 20-19. That game just barely stayed under. At home against Detroit, the number was 48.5, and the game went under by 10.5 points. That game was in Green Bay outside, a 24-14 win. I think we see a more wide open game than that. Against Chicago in the last game for the Lions, it was 48. It did not go under by 5 points. It landed at 43. So technically, if you pull this down by 6 points, it would have gotten there. But against Jacksonville, it was 42 to 47 and a half. The game went over by 10 and a half points, mostly because they blew the doors off of them. Tennessee at home went over in the home. So 2 of the last 3 home games for the Lions have gone over. And with equal rest and long rest, I think we have a chance to see this go over. So those are the plays that I'm making officially here today for us. I don't mind Packers +3, anytime touchdown over, and Gibbs rushing. I don't mind that on the over either. I don't mind that Edgar. I don't think that that's bad at all. Richard, what do you ask me? So say you bet on a hypothetical team to cover 10.5, and later a daily juicer finds +9.5. Any advice here? Wait and play it live. Take it if it's, say, 10% off. I know it depends upon the sport. It's a very hard question. That's hard to answer for a variety of reasons. Are we talking football or basketball? Are we talking home team, road team? Are we talking indoors, talking outdoors? Like, I think you just find the number you like. If 9.5 over, if you like a team +9.5, well, then take 10.5, right? But if you like a team to the dog at +9.5, take 10.5. If you like the favorite, well, there's 10.5, take 9.5. So it just depends on what side you want to be on. If you like the dog in that situation, obviously you'd want to find a 10.5 if you can. You can play it live if you want, but realistically, like in basketball, that's not that big of a difference. 10.5 and 9.5. In football, it's a little bit of a difference, obviously, because you're crossing 10. But the key numbers in football are 3, 4, 6, 7, 10. 10's the last of them. It's the least of the value. So, 9.5, taking something +9.5 is not horrible when it comes to that. Well, there's a different, okay, had the same dilemma with Duke. No, you didn't, because Duke won the game easily. So you didn't. That's called steam, Wiggy. That's steam. So from 2 to 3.5, that's steam. You can chase steam. Chasing steam's not horrible. You can get burned. That's why it's called steam. All right. You stick your hand in there, it can burn you because all the numbers, all the plays came in. But if you're chasing and betting steam all the time, that's not a horrible thing. You're betting with the professionals. Now, again, I would rather be with the sports books. I would rather be on the side that the sports books need. Okay. So yeah, I get it. Didn't want to lay 3.5 when he gave out 2. I get that. That's the only problem with the daily juice. The problem with the daily juice, and it's like if I was on the East Coast, the daily juice would be a morning podcast. It would come out in the morning because I would give you a line, like I would tape it probably at like 7 a.m. Eastern, which would be 4 a.m. Pacific, but I'm asleep at 4 a.m. Pacific. So I tape it when it's 1 a.m. Eastern and it's 10 p.m. Pacific. But the number overnight, a lot of books shut off their lines. They just click it off. They shut it off. So the number stays where it is. And so as it stays, when the guy in the morning comes in at 6 a.m. and turns on the computer and says, oh, man, we've had a bunch of bets coming in at 2, jumping up to 4, or jumping up to 3.5, or they see an offshore book move, a quote unquote sharp book moves the number. Then they come in, then they adjust it quickly. So you guys get up in the morning. I've taped it at 1 o'clock Eastern. You guys get up at 7 a.m., 8 o'clock in the morning. You listen to the juice. You go to your book and you go, damn it, that thing moved by 1.5 points. That's the problem with the juice, is that I'm betting into markets and numbers that you guys are asleep on the East Coast. It stinks. I'll totally agree. It absolutely stinks. But that's part of the problem when it comes to lines I'm betting and where I am in Vegas on the West Coast versus New York, New Jersey, Virginia, Massachusetts, East Coast books, East Coast states that are legal. You guys are getting different information, different numbers than what I'm getting. Okay. It's not a horrible thing to bet into it. All right. It's one bucket. In basketball, it's one bucket. Now, one bucket can matter. Okay. I'm not debating that you can lose. If I lay 2, you lay 3, I win, you lose 100%. Right. Or I guess technically you would push. So if it falls 3, you push, I win. Right. That can happen. If you laid 3.5 and it falls 3, I win, you lose. That sucks. I'm not going to debate that at all. And I hate that too. When there was a better number on the board and I couldn't get it, that makes me mad. Okay, that just pisses me off entirely. I'm with you. But don't get overly caught up in it, because yes, sometimes the books are right on, but sometimes the books are way off. Okay, we laid 5 with Iowa State at home last night against Marquette. The game fell 11. It didn't matter what number you laid. Everything laid. Everything hit. Okay, so like I understand. Look, lay the juice, especially with throwing it in a parlay. There was a thing that came out, guys, this week. Morgan Stanley put out a report that in the month of October, 48% of every bet, 48% of every bet in the month of October, 48% was a parlay. 48% of every time you guys pressed the buy button was a parlay. You know what's funny? Vegas had a horrific month of October. Vegas only made $9 million in October. Their hold on football was 2%. 2%. One of the lowest in a really long time. One of the lowest in a really long time. So Vegas did really badly because the public did really well in October. I'm not sure how the other books did in October, but Vegas, generally speaking, people don't bet parlays here. They do. They bet them. But they don't bet them the same way they do in New York and New Jersey and Massachusetts on the East Coast, where you guys are just almost exclusively betting parlays. No matter how much I tell you not to do it, no matter how much I scream and pound on a desk and tell you guys to stop betting parlays, you guys are still betting parlays. And it drives me nuts. Like, don't bet parlays. Bet straight bets. I know it's not as fun. I know lottery tickets are way more fun. I know it's cool to see a $2 bet pay off $200,000. I get all that. Okay, I understand the game. I get it. But if you're doing this and you're going to do it consistently, it's so much better to just to bet straight and don't bet parlays. And then you can take lumps. You can take the ups and the downs and you can survive, and you can just survive in advance. What are you asking? Any chance you would do the juice live and still post the tape? Some people could still listen live and catch the same lines. What time do you want me to tape it, Brandon? If you want me to tape the juice live, like right now, like this, tape it like live in 15 minutes? Oh boy. I don't know. That's an interesting idea. No one's ever suggested that we actually tape the Daily Juice live. The problem with that would be I tape it at all different times. Like literally all different times. So like what would happen is you guys would be pissed off because at some nights I'm going to tape it at 6 a.m. Pacific. Some nights I'm going to tape it at 10 p.m. Pacific. Some nights I'm going to take it at 9:30. You guys are going to get upset. Like the idea of the podcast is have it to be available the next morning. So you get up and it's in your inbox. Like that's the way that it is. So, and you're absolutely right, Frank. Sometimes it goes both ways. Sometimes you guys get better numbers than me. 100%. That's exactly right. It's not exclusively, I'm not always ahead of the move. No way. I wish that was the case, but I'm not always ahead of the move. Sometimes the move's against me. So sometimes I can say I might lay 2 or I might take 2 and you guys get 4 because the number went the other way. They started betting the favorite. I took the dog. So 100%, Frank, that's totally correct when it comes to that. And yeah, the books give parlay boosts for a reason. Yes, 100%. It's 11 versus 10 anyway. You know, this is hard enough to do. It's hard enough to bet on the books. It's hard enough to fight the books that when you go and put a parlay together, it's brutal. It's brutal. What F you have yesterday with the Duke game and Alabama game? But thanks for explaining. Well, the Alabama game, the number moved with me. I bet North Carolina -2. It was up to 3.5. Bama killed them. I bet Duke -2, laid 3.5. Duke won the game. Didn't kill Auburn, but won the game. So that was a 1-1. So that's kind of the problem, right? Like you can chase steam if you want, but steam is not always right. I learned this from my other show, from doing BVB, Boston Winning versus the book, from my co-host, who is a 20-year bookmaker. We don't know why the line moves. Unless you are in the room, unless you are watching the number and knowing why that book is moving. Why are they moving the number? they would have to tell you. Sometimes they move on air, which means nothing. Sometimes they move because an offshore moved. Sometimes they move just to see if somebody will bet it. Like literally, my co-host said, sometimes you just come in and go like, let's move it a half a point and see what happens. Let's see if someone will bet it. Like sometimes they're fishing. Sometimes they're just throwing chum in the water to see if people are going to bet it. So that's the problem. Like we can sit here and think about how smart we are and think about how intelligent we are. And we know all these things, right? We know all these things. Like you can, I stare at an odds screen for hours every single day. Like I'm staring at odds screens all day, like where numbers are going, places, numbers I've bet. Right now the number is 3 minus 116 at Circa, 53 to the over minus 115 at Caesars. Like they're playing the over and they're playing the Packers. You want to know what the pros are playing? That's what they're playing, right? That's what they're playing. And so that's where I am pushing it. That's where I am on this going, like, as I'm watching these numbers, it doesn't mean that they're right. It just means that that's what they're betting and the books are reacting to the bets. So I would love to see this, as we would know full transparency as to why the books are moving, but we never know. So while I can sit here and tell you what Steam is and what the pros are, Addison, I can't drink anything right now. I got to go to my kids' arts integration night in 5 minutes. I've got no drinking going on at the moment. I haven't been able to drink for a while too, which is kind of a bummer because of my health issues. I've been on kind of a no alcohol thing. So I haven't been able to drink for a while. So whenever I can drink, it'll be Elijah Craig whiskey. That's what, Elijah Craig bourbon, Elijah Craig whiskey, one of the two on that. Yeah, don't usually hesitate when I get a better. Yeah, right. You get a better number. Good for you. Take the better number. Be happy about taking the better number. If you get it, that's a reason to drink. Yeah, that's a reason to drink. But that's also maybe why I'm been dealing with this. Matthew, for the prop bets, I'll give you the prop bets before we get out of here. Here, I'll give you the plays that I'll make here just in 2 minutes before we wrap. Okay. So again, just as we watch these numbers as we get towards kickoff here. It's 3 at Circa, Superbook, South Point, all at 3. Everyone's 3. There are some 52.5 still out there, DraftKings being one of them. But most books are at 53 here from the total perspective. That opened up at 51.5. So the thought is over and dog is what we're seeing here. Packers are expected to be in this game, but they're also expected to score given the injuries to the defense for the Lions. The indoor FanDuel still at 3.5. Okay. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate that. If you haven't bet 3.5, you want to go grab it. Problem with FanDuel on the teaser, you could get 9.5 on the teaser with FanDuel. True. They always want the half a point. That's true. They hate solid numbers at FanDuel. But the problem with that is that it's expensive to bet teasers there. I think it's $140 to bet teasers at FanDuel. Really, it's a crap place to bet. DraftKings is way better. It's minus 120 at DraftKings to bet teasers. Like they're still fairly priced. There's books here in Vegas that are fairly priced, but some are not. Most of them are not. Most are betting 130, 135, 140 on teasers, which is just an absolute joke in my mind. Okay, before we wrap here, here are my plays for tonight. Lions minus 1.5 in the first half for 1.2 units. Packers for the game at plus 3.5 for 1.1 units. Same game teaser, Packers plus 9, going off of the 3 that's available most places, but you can get 9.5 at FanDuel if you want to pay the juice. Over 46.5 at minus 120 for 1.2 units. Jamison Williams over 50.5 yards receiving at minus 110. That's 0.26 units there. And I think Jared Goff gets picked off tonight. Jared Goff at plus 110, a plus money play at a quarter unit for Jared Goff to be throwing interceptions tonight. I do think they'll be throwing a lot tonight. I do think that this game will be high scoring, and I do think that the Lions will be trailing at some point during this game, and that's why Jared Goff will be throwing the football, and Jared Goff will be picked off. Sorry to cut this short, guys, but I got to go to a kid event at my kid's school. We're back next week for week 15, for Thursday night. I will talk to you in the Discord channel, bettingpros.com/chat if you guys haven't joined the Discord channel, and then Daily Juice later on tonight for another Friday for us. Enjoy the game tonight. Should be fun.